Good morning, all. Suburban Sentinel here, coming to you once again from very deep inside the Arabian Peninsula. I hope all of you are well back there in civilization. Today, I'd like to get a little bit away from politics for once and talk about guns. Now, there are thousands and thousands of videos that talk about how to buy guns, reviewing guns, how to acquire new ones. But there's scant information on what to do when the guns you have no longer suit you. Now, a gun may become unsuitable for a variety of reasons. Perhaps it's not reliable, perhaps your needs have changed, or maybe it's become obsolete, etc., etc. So let's get into this a little bit about getting rid of guns. Now, for most people, when they have a firearm that they no longer want or need, they usually handle it in one of three ways. They sell it, they trade it, or they ignore it. And when I say ignore it, the firearm usually becomes a safe queen. In other words, they just stick it in the old gun safe and it sits there for years or decades or lifetimes, never to see the light of day again. And again, selling, trading, or ignoring. And there's absolutely nothing inherently wrong with any of those strategies. They all have their place. However, I would like to discuss a fourth option that most people don't even consider, and that is mothballing firearms. First of all, what does mothball mean? Well, in the world of logistics, it is a slang term for taking equipment that is no longer necessary or unused equipment and putting it in long-term storage. And there are a couple of elements to mothballing. The first of which is that when you mothball equipment, you are putting it in protective storage. That is, you want to minimize or even eliminate any degradation over time of that equipment for as long as possible. And second, when you mothball something, you generally keep it away from your operational sites so it doesn't take up any valuable workspace. So those are the two elements. And the reason we mothball rather than just throw things away is that when you mothball equipment, you have the capability, not necessarily the intention, but the capability of returning that equipment to service if necessary. One of the easiest ways to illustrate how the process of mothballing equipment can be useful is through a case study. So I will use my own example of my Gen 3 Glocks. Now, I believe it was way back in around 2002, I selected a uniform platform for self-defense handguns, and that was the Glock 9mm Gen 3s. And so it's been my go-to handgun system for around, I guess, 14 or 15 years now. And the Gen 3 Glock is a great gun. It was back then, it still is. The Glocks have served me well. And in that system, I believe I have 9 individual pistols, Glocks 17, 19, and 26, 3 of each, and in excess of 100 magazines, different configurations, and lots of little bags of parts and bits and bobs to keep the Glocks running under almost any condition. And of course I have the obligatory holsters and accessories and that sort of thing. So I have kind of my Glock system, and it has served me well. And before any of the Glock lovers say, oh, you hate Glocks, no, that's not true. I think the Glock is a great gun, was a great gun, still is, but something better came along. Recently, I switched to the H&K P30 series guns in 9mm, and that is going to be my go-to platform. Before anyone says, oh, HK suck, or you're an HK snob, no, the HK is a great gun. The Glock is a great gun. The HKs are just better for my needs. The HK is much more lefty friendly, and I'm a southpaw. In addition, the ergonomics and the shootability of the HK is superior to the Glock for me and my family. Again, nothing against the Glock. I think it's a great pistol. The HK just works better for us. And so that's what I'm going with. So let's evaluate my options. I could sell or trade my Glock systems. Again, 9 pistols, in excess of 100 magazines, spare parts, a few tools, and accessories. Even with that quantity of equipment, and of those 9 pistols, 3 have been used moderately for training and range practice. 3 have been shoot to break in, and 3 are new in box. Even with all these pistols in good condition and all that extra stuff, I'd be lucky to get $5,000 for it. In the alternative, I could just use the ignore it strategy. Just leave all those Glocks and the magazines and all that other stuff in the safe until I figure out what to do with it at a later date. But I really don't want to do that. First of all, it's taking up a lot of valuable space. I want to keep my operational workspaces neat and tidy and limited. It costs money to store things, especially in your more valuable workspaces. In addition, things that are casually stored for immediate usage do require periodic maintenance. So I really don't want to just keep them as safe queens either. So in this situation, my solution is to mothball the Glocks and the related equipment. And again, mothball is when we put the equipment into protective storage. And this system, all these Glocks and the stuff that goes with them, will be distributed among 3 different equipment and supply caches we have back in the world. So again, I'm not going to take up valuable operational space. I won't keep any of these weapons or the equipment that goes with them in our primary residence. These will all be distributed among 3 different either bug out locations or emergency stashes that we have of different things. So let's take a look at the advantages and disadvantages of mothballing in this case. The primary advantage of mothballing is that all of these Glocks could be put back into service at basically a moment's notice, and there's a high probability that my family's handgun requirements could be satisfied for the rest of our lives with that existing inventory. With the number of pistols and the parts and the tools, I could probably keep those handguns running indefinitely without having access to more parts or more magazines in case the balloon goes up or it hits the fan or what have you. So that is a huge advantage. I'll have a ready supply of capable, reliable, good handguns. They may not be ideal for me and my family, but they are damn good guns, and I wouldn't hesitate to use them. It might require a little bit of retraining to get used to the Glock ergos and the Glock functionality, but it certainly could be done without too much difficulty. Of course, a viable alternative would have been to simply sell all of the Glock pistols and equipment and acquire a similar number of pistols and equipment under the HK platform. Now, I considered doing that, but HK is not exactly known for being budget friendly. And when I priced it out to obtain 9 HK pistols in 9mm and in excess of 100 magazines and parts and all the other stuff I have for the Glocks, will probably cost somewhere around $20,000. So by not selling the Glocks and assuming I could get 5,000, I would still have to come up with an additional 15,000 in cash to have a similar type of capability in a different platform. And keeping the Glocks and mothballing them, first it gives me the capability of bringing those Glocks back into service if necessary, again, if the balloon goes up or it hits the fan, and it allows me to build up my supply of HK pistols and equipment much more slowly in a more cash flow friendly way, or not at all. I could just simply say, you know what, I'll have enough of the HK stuff to be comfortable and the Glock will be my fallback. As with most choices in life, there are downsides. And with respect to mothballing, there are usually at least costs, if not real disadvantages. So let's take a look at this under our case study. The whole point of mothballing is to be able to bring the equipment back into service as quickly as possible. So I want all of these pistols to be at least functionally in near new condition. So again, 3 are new in box, they're no problem. 3 are only shoot to break in, they're no problem. But I do have 3 basically range guns. So I'm going to send those to the gunsmith to have them detail stripped, and any parts that have appreciable wear will be replaced so that, again, the guns are functionally new. And of course, there'll be a cost with that. In addition, there are costs of packaging and preservation. Again, protective packaging can be expensive. I tend to use Z-Core bags and waterproof cases for long-term storage of firearms, and they're kind of expensive. So I estimate that it will cost between materials and labor somewhere around $600 to mothball these firearms and the related equipment. Another disadvantage of mothballing in this case is having 2 platforms. If I am forced to press these Glocks back into service, then I will have to retrain myself and my wife from using the HK platform back to the Glock platform. In this case, I don't think that's really a big deal, but of course it is a consideration. So that concludes our little case study. Again, mothballing equipment is not always possible, nor is it always practical. However, it is a viable strategy for you to keep in mind in keeping you and your family prepared. So thanks for watching. This is the Suburban Sentinel. Please thumbs up, share, and subscribe if you like what you see. Questions, enlightening comments, and differing opinions are always welcome. Be safe back there, everybody.